start finding peace. But until then, the sons and daughters, the husbands and wives of Ukraine are paying an incredible price to keep Russia at bay, to try to win back the territorial property of the Ukrainian nation, and to ensure that Russia doesn't march the rest of the way into Europe. Donbass is the front line. I want to acknowledge Colonel Christopher Reeves. Stand up, Colonel.
Sir, thank you.
Colonel Reeves just got back from commanding Operation Unifier, our Canadian troops that are working at helping train Ukrainian soldiers in Yavoriv, the base in western Ukraine. Chris, you've done a great job of not only being a great leader, but also being a champion. The interviews that you've done on TV, at home, and in Ukraine, I've watched them online on YouTube. You've done a great job, sir. Really appreciate all that you've done. And yes, he is the real Christopher Reeves. Underneath that uniform, he doesn't have Superman outfit because he is Superman. And I know that Colonel Victor Shamoka is here as well from the Ukrainian Embassy. And sir, your leadership on Parliament Defense Attaché here in Canada, keeping us as parliamentarians up to date with what's happening in Ukraine. We thank you for your service. We thank you for your leadership as well.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm doing it, and I'll do it in the future.
Well, I know that all of you want to get to watching the film. And this is about, first and foremost, the brave women who are fighting the war. For those of us of Ukrainian heritage, we all know about how strong the women have been in our history and how strong they are today. It is a matriarchal society. And these ladies, through film and also in the panel discussion later, will talk about the challenges of being a woman in a man's army. They'll talk about the difficulties they've experienced in the fight. And we'll get a chance to hear about how they're dealing with those operational stress injuries that all too often soldiers around the world are experiencing, like PTSD. The mental health of those that return need the support of each and every one of us. So I want to invite up Monica to come and explain how the night's going to unfold, and we'll watch the video. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for being friends of Ukraine. Slava Ukraine.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us this evening to watch a marvelous documentary about women's rights in the Ukrainian armed forces. Through these Western values, we are trying to bring the message of Russian occupation in Ukraine and the ongoing war that we all are still struggling with. I will not speak much. I will invite the main speaker of tonight, and I will introduce all of them. It's Maria Berlinska, the author of IDEA. She is also a veteran. She started the aerial reconnaissance as a volunteer, and she created the project Invisible Battalion. She will tell you more about that. Irina Tsilik. Irina is a renowned writer and poet in Ukraine. Many people in Canada of this North American tour who heard about her came also to buy her books. And she's also a wife of a veteran. Andriana Susak. A brave stormtrooper of the 24th Assault Brigade. and Yulia Matvienko. A fearless sniper. Yulia will speak in Ukrainian with the interpreter. And the interpreter is also a person that I'm honored to introduce. She is the organizer of the North American tour of this documentary, and she is also the president of the Canadian Ukrainian International Assistance Fund, Antonina Kumka. When we interact with our heroes, we all want to serve them as they served to defend our country or the country of our relatives. And Antonina will also help to serve today with her interpretation. As to me, my name is Ivana Plahotnyuk. I represent the Ukrainian Canadian Film Festival, and it's a project that started as an information campaign to supply the truthful information about current events in Ukraine, but also to provide Ukrainian films of different kinds to Canadian viewers. Thank you very much, and I welcome Maria Berlinska.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for my English, firstly. My name is Maria Berlinska. I'm specialist of air reconnaissance, and also I'm veteran, and also I'm author and producer of this project, Invisible Battalion. Firstly, I would like to express a deep gratitude to the organizers of this event. To our host, Mr. James Bezan, and Ivana Plahotnyuk, the president of the Ukrainian Canadian Film Festival, and especially Antonina Kumka, who organized this North American tour in partnership with Razum for Ukraine, President Luba Shipovich. Battalion is an advocacy campaign, a sociological research and a civil rights project for gender equality in the armed forces in Ukraine. Why is this project so important? As 50% of the society is women, this means that the army and society will be twice as strong if women are allowed to defend their country. Highly professional, motivated women can make an army that holds Russian occupation very strong. The fact that women began to defend their country confirms two things. Firstly, they are very patriotic and love their country. And secondly, the situation on the front line is very complicated. Invisible Battalion was launched in 2015 as a sociological survey conducted by the National University of Kyiv-Mohyla Academy sociologists on women participation in the war in the east of Ukraine. The survey revealed a number of problems. Ukrainian legislation didn't allow women to be assigned to combat positions, so they were enlisted as cooks, seamstresses, cleaners, etc. While taking part in military combat operations as snipers, grenade launcher operators, reconnaissance soldiers, artillerists, etc. The majority of women who were at Donbass war were not enlisted officially, had no access to social or military benefits, military awards, social status, or career opportunities in the armed forces. Later on, the The Invisible Battalion social project turned into the full-length documentary Invisible Battalion. 6 stories of 6 women who were or are combatants at war in the east of Ukraine. 3 women directors, Irina Tsilik, who present here, Alina Horlova and Svetlana Lishchinska, offer female perspectives on war that are bluntly honest. This documentary is a female account of war in the east of Ukraine. Both as a result of the campaign and the pressure of society and our project Invisible Battalion and different international organizations, just like UN Women. The Ministry of Defense of Ukraine expanded the number of military jobs, 63 in total, available for women. However, even now, 70% soldier and officer jobs are still unavailable to women. Moreover, women don't have equal access to military education and careers. Invisible Battalion is still promoting legal status of women in the armed forces of Ukraine, civil rights of women veterans, and other things. And for me, this project also very important because for me it's a part of our truth, it's a part of big Russian information war. Thank you very much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Irina Tsilik, the film director and writer, so I represent the Ukrainian Cultural Front. Also, I will talk as a woman, as a mother, as a veteran's wife, and most important, as a Ukrainian. The information is a very powerful weapon today. We can win hundreds of battles, but if we are losing minds of people, we lose the war. We all know that Russia is a very dangerous enemy, especially in the information war. So we definitely need to fix our being in war from our side using all the possible instruments, such as media, arts, social projects, etc. And I'm not talking about propaganda. I'm talking about the importance of highlighting of all the aspects of our realities nowadays. Military actions and struggle with Russia have been ongoing in the east of Ukraine for 5th year already. Some of the cities, Ukrainian cities, are still under the fire. Many people from the civilian population injured, lost their homes. A huge amount of servicemen and servicewomen, after the military actions, after wounds, being in captivity and so on, have PTSD and need the professional rehabilitation. So there are a lot of issues to be focused on, and we need to tell truth. We don't need to lie, actually. I have directed 2 stories from this film, Invisible Battalion. The first one is about the combat medic, Yulia Payevska, with the call sign Tyra. And the last one is about Andriana Susak. She is a wonderful person, but the most important, that is a story about the assault trooper, in fact, who was enlisted officially as a seamstress. Such strategy was quite usual for the first year of the war with Russia, and something has changed from the times, but we still have a lot of work to do, and we still fight for the gender equality in Ukraine, and especially in the Ukrainian armed forces. Also, this film focuses on another very important issues such as PTSD, the being of veterans after their service, etc. At the moment, I also work on another project that is a full-length documentary about the teenagers who live in the frontline zone of Ukraine. So we have a lot of things to do, and my colleagues from Ukraine also work on another different important projects. And of course we need your support, and we are open to the different ways of cultural collaboration with Canada. And finally, I want to thank for the opportunity to have a screening in the Parliament of Canada, because sometimes such places are the best arena to do it. So, thank you very much.
Я вибачаюсь, я солдат, я дуже погано виступаю перед публікою, стріляти трошки краще виходить, але я буду намагатися.
I apologize, I'm a soldier. I shoot better than I speak in public.
Добрий вечір. Мене звати Юлія, і я є діючий снайпер Збройних сил України.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Yulia, and I'm the acting sniper of the Armed Forces of Ukraine.
Я одна з героїнь цього документального фільму, який ви зараз побачите.
I'm one of the heroines of the documentary that you will see in a few minutes.
Розуміючи ризик для себе, я все ж таки вирішила показати своє обличчя, тому що потрібно сказати, що на війні, україно-російській війні, воюють не тільки чоловіки, але і жінки.
Realizing all the risks of showing my face, I have decided to do it because I want everyone to see that not only men but also women fight in the war in Ukraine.
І невидимий батальйон повинен стати видимим.
And the invisible battalion has to become visible.
Жінка має право захищати свій дім, свою сім'ю, своїх дітей і свою країну.
A woman has the right to protect her home, her country and her children.
І ніхто не має права це їй заборонити.
And no one has the right to stop her from doing that.
Так, війна проти російської окупації в Україні триває.
Yes, the war against Russian occupation of Ukrainian territory continues.
І Росія не полишає спроби окупувати нові території України.
And Russia won't stop. The country continues to try to occupy more territories.
Тому ви кожен день чуєте, що у нас кожен день є і загиблі, і поранені.
That's why you will hear that every day we have more casualties and wounded.
Це та ціна, яку ми платимо за стримування Росії.
This is the price we pay for containing Russia.
Користуючись можливістю, хочу подякувати за підтримку і допомогу, яку Канада надає в цей дуже важкий час для України.
I would like to use this opportunity to thank Canada for all the support and help Canada provides for Ukraine at this time.
Наразі українська армія дуже відрізняється від того, що ми мали на початок російської окупації у 2014 році.
At present, the Ukrainian armed forces and Ukrainian army is quite different from what it used to be at the beginning of the war.
Добровольці, такі як Андріана і побратими та посестри, першими тоді прийняли перший удар і не маючи нічого, в майках, в кедах.
Volunteer fighters such as Andriana, they took the first blow at that time, having nothing, wearing sneakers and flip-flops.
Потреба була у всьому.
There was a need for everything.
Сьогодні в армії ми маємо забезпечення формою, амуніцією, їжею.
Today we do have a good supply of uniforms, food, ammunition.
Але в нас застаріла техніка, технології і зброя.
But our technology and our military equipment is quite old.
Мені, моїм побратимам і посестрам на передовій допомога дуже потрібна в сучасній зброї, в дронах і в технологіях, тому що це зберігає наше життя і дає можливість робити свою роботу більш ефективно.
My fellow soldiers would definitely benefit from better equipment, technologies such as drones and other things like that, that would help us do our job better
І зберігає життя.
and would save lives.
Дуже важливо, щоб допомога була більш ефективною та дієвою. Це контроль надходження цієї допомоги дійсно тим, хто її потребує на передню лінію зіткнення з противником.
The effectiveness of this support is very important, and it's important to control the fact that this help and this aid gets to the front lines.
Ми багато чого навчилися в цій війні з власного досвіду, з перемог та поразок, але досвід сучасних армій нам також дуже потрібен.
We have learned a lot from this war, from our victories and our losses, but other experiences of other armies and armed forces is very, very important for us too.
Особливо досвід оперативності, управління, логістики та контролю.
Especially the experience in effectiveness and logistics and control of things.
Перехід нашої армії до стандартів НАТО.
Moving towards the NATO standards.
Навчання та обмін досвідом для тих бойових офіцерів,
Exchange of experience for the military officers and fighting officers.
Які зможуть відійти від старої радянської бюрократичної системи управління в нашій армії.
Who are able to give up the old Soviet administrative system in our army.
Та побудувати сучасну армію без всіх цих вад, які, на жаль, вона до сих пір має.
And build the new style army without all these flaws that it still has.
Україна повинна мати сильну армію, це питання світової безпеки.
Ukraine has to have a strong army. This is a question of, or this is an issue of world importance, international importance.
Чечня, Грузія, Україна, Сирія. Хто буде наступний?
Chechnya, Georgia, Ukraine, Syria, who is next?
На жаль, в політиці Росії ми не бачимо миру.
In Russian politics, there is no peace.
Тому ми, Україна, як її сусід, не маємо права, втримуючи сусід, не маємо права бути слабкими.
That's why Ukraine, as Russia's neighbor, cannot afford being weak.
Ми, українці, розраховуємо на розуміння загрози російської окупації у всьому світу. І
Ukrainians do understand the threat of Russian occupation, which is a threat to the whole world.
І просимо об'єднати зусилля всього цивілізованого світу для стримання Росії.
And we ask that the whole civilized world join together in containing Russia.
І санкціями, і дієвою допомогою України.
By sanctions and real help for Ukraine.
Дієвою допомогою тим, хто і вдень, і вночі ціною свого життя захищає мир в Україні і не тільки.
Actual help for those who are prepared to give up their lives for the peace in Ukraine and not only in Ukraine.
Thank you.
Hello. I'm nervous a little bit, but it's our battle too. Let's do it, baby. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Beauties. I'm Adriana Susak. I'm a veteran. In fact, I'm an assault trooper, and officially, I am seamstress. Besides I'm a girl, I'm Ukrainian, and as a citizen of my country, I couldn't keep away of the revolution of dignity that was a phenomenon of fighting for the democracy and truth in Ukrainian history. And also I couldn't keep away from the war in Ukraine with Russian occupation. In 2014, Ukrainian armed forces were not ready to stand against Russian military forces. That's why we volunteers gathered, united, to take arms and to move to the west, to the east of Ukraine, to defend our country, and not to admit Russia to make its plan of splitting and destruction of our country. Our motivation, common idea of defense and victory was above our life. But the price was terrible. I lost about 100 friends, brothers in arms, after 3 months of fighting. And it's just me. People have understood that Ukrainians stood up for defense of peace not only in Ukraine, but also in Western civilization, because horrible politics of Russia around the world keeps critical points. In the army or Soviet standard, service people are invisible. We, volunteers and service people, are now invisible because we have this post-Soviet step and war by people. We cannot lose anymore. We've fed up of losing. Today is 21st century. The world must value life and to use technology to stop aggression. The world has to unite to stop Russia. Today, we, under circumstances of war, tries to build professional army by NATO standard. The process, yes, they are very slow. We have two fronts, in the east of Ukraine and in the civil life. Veterans, after war, face with very slow democratic changes in country, with huge problem of bureaucracy, that is Soviet step, and with problem of rehabilitation. The dishonest system, vaulted in bureaucracy, PTSD, and absence of rehabilitation lead to losing our best people in civil life. Today we have more than 1,000 cases of suicide among veterans. We lose our best people and we can lose our country. We need to support veterans to encourage future generation who will be volunteered to know they will have future support. We know from the history that the West has experience of supporting veterans and building network among them, so we ask to teach us how to do this. Second step will be veterans movement that we hope will unite quality rehabilitation, education, and employment for further building of normal life in Ukraine and for interference in state building processes. We take this opportunity to thank people of Canada for help and remind that we have a common enemy, Russian Federation. We ask you, as one of the most progressive countries in the world, to help us with the latest technology, the latest methods of building the army. We ask you to fully control the assistance provided to us so that it reaches the first line of front. We are open to full cooperation on the exchange of experience in rehabilitation, education, and democracy building. So we ask, but we have no way out. We need to protect the country. We need to protect the peace. Because we will fight. Because we have children, and children must have future. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your touching speeches. I would like to announce the screening. 89 minutes, 6 stories, about 15 minutes for each, which is very little. I would kindly ask to turn off all the phones and prepare your handkerchiefs. After the film, we will have the question and answer session. And our visiting women veterans and the filmmaker will be open to answer all your questions and listen to your comments. Thank you very much.
Слава Україні!
Thank you to everyone who supported this event. First of all, thank you to Mr. James Bezan. Thank you to our sponsor of catering, Ukrainian Credit Union. Thank you to Catering Office of House of Commons. And thank you for support from Embassy of Ukraine and Ukrainian Canadian Congress. Thank you also to Canada-Ukraine International Assistance Fund to make this tour happen and to bring these hearings to our public. We will have now a Q&A session, questions and answers. We have 2 microphones on 2 sides of the floor. If anyone would like to speak from the seat, please raise your hand. We have approximately 30 minutes for everything. If you feel hungry or thirsty, please feel free to help yourself from the back of the room. Thank you.
Mainly for the veterans, but I'd be happy to hear from all the panel. The first combatant said something that I found very interesting. When she was watering her flowers, she said, "I don't need everyone to go out and enlist in the war, but I wish people would think about it, and I wish people would remember it." And the way she said it, it reminded me of how a veteran might speak about a war in the history books, but this is a war that's still going on. So I was wondering if you can speak to how you feel as a veteran or as a soldier with your civilian counterparts. Do you feel supported? Do you feel respected? Do you feel encouraged?
Мабуть, на це питання перше відповім я. Я розумію, що ви маєте на увазі. Мені дівчинкою теж було навіть якось смішно, і я не розуміла, коли моя бабуся завжди казала, російські, лиш би не було війни.
I'll answer this question, and I understand your question. When I was a little girl, my grandmother was always saying in Russian, "I wish there was never war."
Дійсно, це розумієш, коли війна приходить до тебе в дім, коли ти бачиш, що воно таке є. І дійсно, саме головне, щоб ніколи війни не було.
It really hits you when the war comes to your home, when you see what it's like, and definitely I wish there was never war ever.
Зараз я дуже добре розумію, що мала на увазі моя бабуся, яка пережила Голодомор, яка пережила Другу світову війну, пережила вигнання на роботу в Германію маленькою дівчинкою. Тільки зараз я це розумію.
Now I understand what my grandmother was saying. She was a Holodomor survivor, the Ukrainian famine genocide. She was a World War II survivor, and she was sent to German camps to work as a little girl. And only now I understand what she was talking about.
Тому я розумію, що ми розуміємо, що ті люди, які своїми очами не бачили війну і не втрачали дорогих людей, також можуть певною мірою розуміти, що це таке є.
That's why we realize that people who have never seen what the war is really like may not really understand what the war is like.
І, мабуть, це добре.
Maybe that's for the better.
Наприклад, у нас був показ в Маріуполі, і люди казали, ви, мабуть, нас ненавидите за те, що ми не знаємо, що таке війна, і не приймаємо активної участі в підтримку, живемо далі своїм життям.
We had a screening at the Mariupol. Mariupol is a city very close to the front lines, and Russia continuously trying, I'm just giving you some background, trying to occupy it. But the people there were saying that you're probably mad at us, that we're not really participating in the war, we don't know what it really is, we live normal lives, and they feel guilty about that.
Тоді я їм відповіла, що так сталося, що мої бойові дії, в операціях, яких я приймала участь, це Маріупольський напрямок, і дуже часто там не така далека відстань. Ми бачимо з окопів вогні Маріуполя, мирного міста.
I responded to them that being on the Mariupol, fighting in the Mariupol direction, that's where Yulia is fighting, she says that we often see the lights of the peaceful city from where we are.
І навіть коли тобі важко, ти дивишся на ці вогні з хлопцями і думаєш, що там, в тих вікнах, які світяться, чиїсь сім'ї, чиїсь діти живуть і не знають, що таке війна.
And when you feel like you are really tired and you can't do this anymore, you look at the lights in those windows in the city, and you realize that there are families there, children who are living their life, and they need you.
І це дуже добре. Це заради цього ми там в тих окопах.
And this is the good part about it, and this is why we're in the trenches.
Заради того, що війна не прийшла в моє рідне місце Запоріжжя, тому що там мої діти, в інші міста, де діти і родини моїх побратимів, на іншу частину України, тієї країни, за яку ти тут стоїш.
So we're doing this so that this war doesn't come to my own city, Zaporizhia, and other cities in the country, and that's why you realize that's why you're standing there.
Now, I came back from war, and of course, there are people that doesn't want to talk about war, and they have another value. They just live their life, buy some things, and so on. And when I try to explain them that life is just one shoot, they said me, "Oh, Andriana, stop talking about war." But I have a huge support from my husband, who is now a serviceman. I have a huge support from my family. I have a huge support from my brothers and sisters in arms. And we just gathered in one room and talk the whole night about the situation, about our feelings, and that helped us. And we know for what we are fighting. We are fighting for the civil society. And I think that when the victory will be, the civil society will celebrate with us. Thank you.
How have your relationships with your civilian friends changed since the start of the war?
Of course, I lost many friends. I didn't remember my life before 2014 because I have this like a line, 2014, till and after. And but I have now a new family of friends, and these friends will never hurt me, and these friends will support me till the end of my day. That's why. Thank you.
Any questions? Yes, I have a question.
Thank you for being here tonight. We are really happy to welcome you in Ottawa. And one of you mentioned during the introduction that there is a veteran movement that is gaining sway in Ukraine. Could you talk a little bit more about it? Is there some sort of organizing happening among war veterans, and what are their main preoccupations at the moment? Thank you.
The Invisible Battalion gave a start to one of the steps of rehabilitation of veterans. We are sent our veterans for a journey for a week. The second step will be veteran movements that will help to find a job, to get education, and to find themselves in their life. Now veterans try to find themselves, try to support each other, and try to live with the pain, and sometimes, and it's oftentimes, they come back to the war.
Yes, we founded Women Veteran Movement, Invisible Battalion, and we're just in start of very big and excellent processes, I think. And it's the first time in Ukraine when we start to do the things, because for me very important. I think women who have war experience, they highly motivate, and they can do many changes in Ukraine. I mean, human rights, I mean democratic values and other things. Thank you.
Today we knew that, for example, in Canada there is like a veteran network, and we had a lot of conversation today about veterans movement, and with this knowledge we came back to Ukraine, and we will build this network.
Hello, Wayne Stetsky, I'm Member of Parliament for Southeastern British Columbia, and I want to start by thanking you for your courage, your bravery, and your service to your country in Ukraine. So let me first start with Canada is involved in Ukraine in a number of different ways. I had the fortune of being in Ukraine just a little over a year ago. But from people, from women soldiers who are on the front line, I'd like you to talk a little bit about whether or not you see or you feel Canada on that front line, and what more we might be able to do.
Так, ми вдячні за підтримку Канади. Я казала в своїй промові. Чи відчуваємо ми підтримку в окопах? Ми відчуваємо підтримку в окопах зі всього світу.
Like I already said, we are very grateful to Canada for Canada's support, and as to feeling the support in the trenches, yes, we do feel the support from the whole world.
Канада, Австралія, Сполучені Штати, Іспанія, Італія. У нас дивовижна українська діаспора, яка нас підтримує з самого початку і яка допомагає і на зв'язку з урядами тих країн робить дивовижні речі.
Canada, Australia, United States, other countries, we have a great diaspora all over the world, and together, when they join efforts with the governments, they do incredible things.
Я в своїй промові розказувала про стан речей в армії на початку російської агресії у 2014 році, що наша армія не мала нічого.
I already spoke a little bit about the situation in the army, and like I said, in 2014, the Ukrainian army had nothing.
І завдяки підтримки народу, українському урядам інших держав, нашого уряду в тому числі, у нас був час стати дійсно армією.
And thanks to the support of Ukrainian people, of the governments of other countries and the Ukrainian government, we had enough time to become a real army.
Підтримка. Саме головне, що хотіла сказати. Як солдат з окопу, коли для мене приїхав сюди, був справжній шок, тому що українці в Канаді підходять і вибачаються за те, що зараз не в Україні і десь далеко.
When I first came here, I was a little bit shocked because Ukrainian Canadians come and they apologize for not being in Ukraine right now.
Але ви більш близькі, чим ті, які живуть на українській землі. які являються громадянами України, але є зрадниками.
But you are closer to us than some people who live in Ukraine and who may be traitors living right there on their own land.
І ті, хто, живучи на цій українській землі, погукав армію Росії, коли вони довкола тебе, то ти думаєш, що десь на іншому кінці світа є люди, які за тебе моляться, які переживають за тебе, за Україну, які подумки завжди з тобою, де б вони б не були.
When you are surrounded by those who have actually invited the Russian army into Ukraine, and you realize that thousands of kilometers away there are people who are praying for you, who are thinking about you and really care about you.
Це надає неймовірну силу, і тобі вже ці образи, ці люди, які не заслуговують бути українцями.
This is really empowering, and it gives you a lot of strength and a lot of faith, unlike being among the people who do not deserve to be called Ukrainians.
Тобі вже не так боляче, що на українській землі є зрадники.
It just becomes not so painful that there are traitors in your own country.
Так що дякую і за підтримку Канади, дякую за підтримку українців Канади, і українців всього світу. І, можливо, навіть завдяки вашим молитвам, завдяки вашій підтримці, Україна ще є.
So I would like to thank Canada, I would like to thank Ukrainians in Canada and all other countries probably because of your support, Ukraine still exists.
Thank you, Canada.
We make all the efforts to build like a democratic society in Ukraine now, and we try to be the NATO standard armed forces now. And what we need, I said early that we need full control of the assistance provided from Canada and from other countries, so that it reaches the first line of defense. And also we need educational program, we need rehabilitation program, we need from you just help, and we ask you to teach us how to make this democratic society, how to save our people in civil life, and how to build NATO standard armed forces. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Francis Yo. I just watched the films that you guys, Ukrainian, went through, the pain that you guys went through. And I appreciate that the women who are standing in front line to protect the country and to protect its own people. That is a great achievement in Ukrainian, and it is in the history. My question to you is, what is your message to Canadian women who are in uniforms, peacekeeping in different countries around the world? What is the message for those women that they can be able to survive like the way you guys survive, and you come here and we learn from you so that the Canadian women can learn from you? Thank you.
My message to Canadian women in uniform is that you are my sister in arm, and we will support each other to build this world better. And as I said, for those young ladies who will see on us and will think that, oh, they are great, I will be a servicewoman. And that young ladies will go not so difficult way, through so difficult way as we do. So we are just sisters in art.
For me, very important Canadian experience of women veteran network, and some programs we had some meeting today with service women in Ministry of Defense, and they have really important, excellent experience to educational program, training programs, to work with PTSD syndrome, and it's what for us very important. Thank you.
I think all of you are really brave, and I really admire everything you've done for your country. And what I was wondering is, what needs to be done so that women in the Ukrainian armed forces feel less discrimination?
To change law, to change our society, and to kill this post-Soviet heritage. And I think it's ours with Yulia duty to fight. To fight and to get victory. And that's all.
Потрібно бути нам, дівчатам, сильними, сильнішими за навіть хлопців. І тоді так ми зможемо доказати всьому світу і нашим українським генералам, що ми заслуговуємо бути на рівні з чоловіками.
We do need to be strong. We need to be even stronger than men. And then we will be able to prove to the whole world and to the Ukrainian generals that we are good enough to be on the same level as men military.
Firstly, спершу побудова жіночого ветеранського руху і поширення сили, посилення жінок, взаємопідтримка поміж жінками, які мають спільний досвід війни і спільний досвід цієї травми.
We need to increase the female veterans movement and building a network and increased support among women veterans.
Secondly, по-друге, це безпосереднє спілкування з жінками, чоловіками, фактично з тими арміями, з ключовими людьми в тих арміях, котрі вже пройшли цей шлях, котрі знають цю дорогу і знають, наскільки це можливо створювати ці правила, які б дозволяли жінкам реалізовуватись професійно в секторі безпеки і оборони.
Direct interaction with the representatives of the armed forces who have already been through this process and who know exactly what women veterans need to do to realize themselves, to fulfill themselves in the sectors of security and defense.
Тому що ми знаємо по досвіду своєї армії, своєї війни, що жінці для того, щоб бути сприйнятою на рівних, потрібно бути як мінімум вдвічі кращою.
Because based on our war, for the woman to be considered equal, she needs to be twice as good as men.
And last but not least, останнє і найголовніше, як для мене, це те, чому і можливим став цей проект. Не боятися. Бути сміливими.
And probably something that's the most important thing for me, this is because this is why this project became possible, not to be afraid, be very brave.
Я хотів ще раз дуже сильно подякувати всієї нашої української громади за те, що ви воюєте за нас і оберігаєте ті наші сім'ї, які ще залишилися в Україні. Я знаю, що ми всі мріємо і думаємо про майбутнє. Хотів запитатися вас, яке майбутнє ви бачите для України, яке заставляє вас кожен день продовжувати воювати за нас. Дякую.
I'll just translate the question for everyone. The question is, what future do you see for Ukraine that makes you go out and fight every day for all of us?
Without war, with democratic society, with strong economy, with best smart people, and with smile of children.
Reform takes a very long time. It's an evolutionary process. And you've spoken of the legacy of the Soviet bureaucracy, the meanness. I'm just curious to see, in your times of service, what kind of changes did you see in this evolution, if any? I was particularly curious with the old Soviet tradition of Dedovshchina, which was a kind of a brutal thing for the military, and I can only imagine how much worse it would be towards women. So does that thing exist still today, and to what extent? And what are some of the main obstacles that you still see that have to be overcome?
Зміни в армії, вони йдуть, але дуже повільно. Зміни в армії йдуть, тому що йде війна.
The changes in the army are taking place, but quite slowly, and they're happening because there is war.
Я на війні за 3 роки я не бачила дідовщини, але бачила інші речі.
In 3 years of being in the front lines, I have not seen Dedovshchina, but I've seen other things. Dedovshchina means when older soldiers or more experienced soldiers are trying to humiliate younger and less experienced soldiers, basically.
І так, це наш спадок від радянської армії, і його треба позбуватися.
This is the Soviet heritage that we need to get rid of.
Тобто у нас є багато вад, як я казала, від цієї радянської армії.
Like I already said, we have a lot of flaws that we need to get rid of that are left by the Soviet system.
Нічого дивного, тому що весь керуючий склад нашої армії навчався у радянській армії.
It's not a surprise that all of the administration of our army was educated during the Soviet times in the Soviet system.
І тому дуже важливо обмін досвідом з провідними арміями, сучасними арміями світу.
This is why the experience exchange is extremely important with the leading armed forces of the world.
Для того, того, щоб міняти мислення, міняти ті навики, які заполучені в ті часи у цього керівництва. Тобто,
this is in order to change the thinking, in order to change the habits that the current administration has from the past.
Тобто нам потрібні навіть не інструктора для солдатів, які 5-й рік воюють.
Therefore, it's not that we only need instructors for just soldiers.
Скоріш нам потрібні інструктора для генералів, яких виростила радянська система.
We also need instructors for the generals who were brought up in the Soviet system.
І дуже потрібно, як я казала в своєму виступі, дуже акуратно, але казала, що молоді бойові офіцери навчалися і з них виростали генерали нової генерації.
And I did say this before, very cautiously, but I said it, that we need fighting officers to grow up into a new generation of generals.
У фільму там я вибачаюсь за сленг, але це була війна, дійсно, це була сіра зона, тобто нічия територія навіть в тилу у противника.
In the movie, you've heard some coarse language, and I apologize for this, but we were behind the enemy lines and in the gray area as well.
Ми дійсно думали, що їх запікають.
We thought that the film directors would beat them out.
Але це війна, і по-іншому не буває. І той хлопець, який віддавав команди по рації,
But this is war and it cannot unfortunately be otherwise. And the person who was giving orders through the radio,
це він тоді взяв, його група, і він взяв тоді в полон російських офіцерів Главного управління розвідки.
it was him who and his group who captured the Russian officers of the General Intelligence Service.
Олександрова там.
Main Intelligence Directorate.
До чого я кажу? Що такі, як він, таких офіцерів дуже багато на цій війні. Ця війна виростила за 5-й рік. І я вірю, що такі хлопці змінять армію.
Why I'm mentioning him is because there are many officers or soldiers like him who grew up in this war, and there are so many of them now who could be new leaders of the army.
Тобто цим фільмом ми кажемо, що у нас не тільки дівчата круті, але ще й хлопці.
So this movie demonstrates that not only girls are cool, but also boys in the Ukrainian army.
Hi, my name is Mary Pierce, and I work at the Joint Support Unit for ill and injured Canadian members. Part of my job is, a large part of it is trying to encourage Canadian Forces members to engage with operational stress injury or PTSD programs. So my question is, if they become available, what percentage of your vets will actually take advantage of it? Like, will they go and ask for assistance? And a lot of programs are online, so can they access those as well? That's all.
нас працюють волонтери-психологи, які намагаються допомогти при ПТСР.
There is now a number of volunteer psychologists in Ukraine who are trying to support the people with PTSD.
Кількість точно дуже важко сказати, тому що не всі усвідомлюють самі, що в них є цей синдром.
It's difficult to provide an exact number of those who suffer because very frequently they don't realize themselves that they have it.
Але є статистика, яка каже, скільки кількість суїцидів, самовбивств.
But there is statistics on suicide rate.
Зараз вже більше 1000.
More than 1,000 deaths as a result of suicide.
Тобто точну статистику сказати ніхто не може, тому що списують їх по різним причинам.
It's difficult to state the exact statistics because it's not often not being released for various reasons.
Але навіть життя кількох побратимів коштує варто, щоб за нього боротися.
But even if it was just a few who did ask for help, it's worth fighting for them.
Ті волонтери, психологи, вони дуже хочуть допомогти, але дійсно не справляються, тому що не мають навиків і не знають, що з цим робити.
The volunteer psychologists, they're doing their best to help, but they don't always have the expertise, and sometimes they don't know what to do with all of this.
Так, те, що ви розказували, дякую за можливість познайомитися. Дійсно, це вихід, коли світ до свого, як ми кажемо, по своє, коли в колі побратимів, коли один допомагає другому, іншому, тому що дуже часто цивільним неможливо пояснити, що і як ти пережив.
I'm very happy to know you now and to be introduced to you, and it is so that everyone tries to find their best friend to go to, and when they need a shoulder, they can go to their brothers and sisters in arms.
PTSD is something new in our society, and every day I say to myself that I don't have PTSD, but sometimes I didn't just realize what are the feelings that I feel. And my brothers in arms, they also say that they have no PTSD. That's why we cannot realize what is PTSD is. Is this bad feeling? Is this horrible, like behavior or something like that? That's why we need a program to create a program that will show this man or this woman are with PTSD and these are no.
Перекладеш мене? Thank you, Тоня Кунка. Дві речі. Перше, це те, що в нас насправді точної статистики немає, бо більше 1000, про які ми говоримо, суїцидів, це тільки те, що зафіксовано під час служби. Но ніхто не веде статистику того, що відбувається після того, як людина повертається з війни.
we really do not have a good statistics on this, because more than 1,000 is what happens during the service of these people, but nobody really pays attention to these people when they come back and keep a record of that.
І я вважаю, що це тема окремого дослідження. На це потрібно звернути першочергову увагу, бо ці люди йдуть прямо зараз. І статистика, я думаю, нас просто вразить.
And I think a thorough research needs to be done in this area, because these people are leaving us as we speak, and it has to be done right now.
І так само, як проект «Невидимий батальйон» почався з соціологічного дослідження, точно так само тут ми маємо почати цю тему саме з глибинного дослідження.
Just like the project Invisible Battalion started with a thorough research, sociological research, this problem needs to be addressed starting with the research as well.
А друге, це суто з власного досвіду. Одна з історій, яку ви побачили в фільмі «Передостання» про жінку, яка повертається, переросла в повнометражний фільм «No Obvious Signs».
And another thing to the point is that, to add to this, is that the story about the woman who was, the last but one story in the movie, about the woman who was actually sending the soldiers to fight, it became a separate story and a separate documentary.
І коли це надзвичайно важкий фільм, який піднімає дуже важливі питання. І коли ми показали цей фільм жінкам-ветеранкам і чоловікам-ветеранам, вони почали усвідомлювати масштаб своєї проблеми тільки після цього.
This new documentary about that woman is extremely difficult, and when we showed it to men and women veterans, only then some of them started to realize their problem.
Тобто ми говоримо про те, що насправді часто ветерани, повертаючись в українське мирне життя, одразу починають працювати, одразу проблеми в сім'ї, одразу робота, і вони повертаються, і навіть часто не усвідомлюють, наскільки глибинна їх проблема.
What I'm trying to say is that when veterans come back to the civil life, they come back to this normal civil life where they have to take care of their home, of their children, and other things, and it does not give them enough time to realize what their other issues are.
І наостанок я на правах того, хто має якісь авторство цього проєкту, дуже попрошу нас всіх говорити питання, коротко відповідати на них коротко. Чому? Тому що я побуду злим поліцейським. Дівчата дуже стомлені, в них був надзвичайно важливий день.
So as the leader of this project, the creator of this project, and one of the main people here, I'm going to ask everyone to do short, quick questions and short answers, please, because the girls had a very rough day, like in terms of like meetings and everything today, and they're pretty tired. Thank you.
Ladies, your commentary on generals has elicited my standing up, and I'd like to share perspectives with you rather than a comment or a question. First of all, my name is Brigadier General Isidor Popovich. I am retired from the Canadian Armed Forces. That's it for personal background. Now I'll get to the important stuff. 22 years ago, in 1996, at the behest of the Ukrainian government, Canada sent me to Ukraine to advise them how to structure their armed forces and to visit their bases across Ukraine, from east to west. I was asked to go there. I thought about the reply. My grandfather, 2 uncles, and 2 aunts were members of the UPA, and they were killed by the NKVD. so my bags were quickly packed to go to Kyiv. I want to say that you're heroines, but we Ukrainians have a long tradition of Ukrainian women heroines. In the course of my visit, I met the highest leadership of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. One included a tank corps commander of the Soviet army who was stationed in Germany. Another one led Soviet squadrons in Afghanistan. In other words, they were in the senior leadership. And I met with them one-on-one, but I want to share with you two stories. I met the chief of intelligence of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. Remember, that was 1996. I took a piece of paper and I drew the map of Ukraine, and I asked them, where is the strategic threat to your country? Because by that time I knew the disposition of the Ukrainian army, where it was stationed in Ukraine. Strangely enough, many of them were positioned in western Ukraine against Poland. Very little in the east, very little in the south. I shared with him my disillusionment on their strategic assessment, and I implored them to consider joining NATO. And you should know that there was another member that was with me at that time, that was the Canadian Forces military attaché, who quickly sent a report to Ottawa on that meeting, for which, by the way, I had a tap on the back for that. But nonetheless, his response was, what is the problem? And by the way, we Canadians should not be smart, because at that time, when the Soviet Union collapsed, one of the first things we did is downsize the military. And so did many of the Western countries. So we are not totally pure on that. Nonetheless, I said, your threat is from the east and the northeast. And they looked at me and said, to naši brate, quote unquote. I reminded them that in biblical times, the older brother killed the younger brother. You know. So that's one story I wanted to share with you, is that 22 years ago, that was the situation. From what you're telling me, not much has changed. I am aghast at that, because a nation, if it does not develop its military and have its institutions like military colleges, where the young men and women are brought up to lead their country in time of need, you have a problem. You do not have the time against brutes like Putin to come up and start developing all of a sudden your armed forces. It is true that other countries may help, but I am not naive. What will defeat Putin is not minor assistance, however good intent it may come with. It's not enough. You will defend your own country and nobody else. It has to come from the people. One last comment. I had the honor of addressing the Air Force Academy in Kharkiv. All young men. Do you know what the first question was to me? How many women do we have in our armed forces? So it was a gleam of hope. You had young men, 19, 20 years old. Today, perhaps they're colonels and generals. It was 22 years ago. So there is hope. All this to say, Dівчата, слава Україні, and go for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, My name is Boris Gaimel. I'm president of the local affiliate of the Ukrainian Canadian Congress. I want to thank you all for coming here. I have 4 thank yous and a short statement. Really short. First thank you to the Office of the Deputy Minister of Veterans Affairs, Walter Ginger. His office arranged for 2 case managers, specialists in the problems of female veterans, to meet with our delegation this morning. And I think they had a useful exchange. Second thank you, Rear Admiral Jennifer Bennett and Jill Sinclair at National Defense. They arranged for 4 of their specialists, from the rank of sergeant, I believe, to the rank of lieutenant commander or commander, specialists on the reintegration of injured female soldiers within the Canadian military, both psychological and physical injuries. And I understand the discussions were very good and dealt with some very delicate issues, and there is a possibility for future cooperation there. So again, thank you to National Defense. Third thank you to the National Office of the Ukrainian Canadian Congress and Yuri Mikhalchishin for arranging a short interview with the Minister of National Defense, with our delegation, an important symbolic act. And of course, the 4th thank you is to the Minister himself for meeting with the delegation from Ukraine. And the quick statement. I am thanking everyone, not as a supporter of the Ukrainian forces, which I am, not as a Ukrainian Canadian, which I also am, but as a Canadian, because it is the wide and thick web of relationships we have south of the border and across the North Atlantic with other democracies that helps us protect our own independence in terms of politics, economics, social issues, culture, and other issues. The wider and thicker we can weave that web, the better our defense. We made a massive step when we wove into that web the Baltic republics. We are now taking another large step by weaving into that web the nascent Ukrainian Republic, and one of the steps has been the visit of our guests this evening. So, in the name of all of us, I thank all of the Canadians for what they've done, for what people like Colonel Reeves and his associates have done, and are doing and will be doing in the name of the Defence of Canada. Thank you very much.
Also, I must say, I would like to express also a deep gratitude to Markin Lipivsky and Valentina Dvaychenko, who's covered part of travel costs for our women veterans.
Thank you everyone for your questions and for your time, especially big thanks to members of parliament for their precious time. I know how hectic schedules there are, and also for being such great service people of Canadian voters, to listen to them and to bring all issues that people are bringing to them, to bring them up and to make proper decisions in the parliament. That's why we brought this film tonight to the key decision makers of Canadian government and Canadian Parliament. And a very special thank you to Mr. James Bezan, whom I invite for the closing comments.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's indeed been an interesting evening to say the least. Got to thank our heroines, all of you, for telling your story and for choreographing it into this great documentary. You know, you're not invisible. This is about education. This is about that information warfare and bouncing off what is being done here in Canada and around the world by RT and Sputnik and all the other fake news that we're getting right now. By having the truth right here before us today, to watch the film, listen to them answer the questions, you can feel the sacrifice, the pain, and I guess the small victories. But at the end of the day, Canada, and through what we've done, military means, what we've done through our humanitarian aid, the incredible generosity of Canadians, not just the diaspora, but Canadians across this country, the money that has been raised and donated to support Ukraine, is a demonstration of our solidarity. It's a demonstration of our love and respect. And I know that many of us of Ukrainian heritage, we're all still patriots, and we are with you in heart and in spirit. You'll always be in our thoughts and prayers. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. I know it's been a long one, but please don't rush off. There's still some food in the back. And I know our panelists are tired, but if you want to say thank you personally, I encourage you to do that.
Шановна громада, подивись, будь ласка, на мене, на військового представника Збройних Сил України. Від імені дівчат я прошу всіх згрупуватися перед сценою. Будь ласка, прямо зараз. Хто перший? Піднімайте руки, фотографуємо.
Давайте щось говорити. Очі розбігаються.
Міша, підніми праву руку догори.
Зараз.